and what may come to be.
Welcome to the stream.
Most would think me fortunate.
Let's skip this. Okay, this is some advice on how to go multiplayer and play the factions and single player and become hold on, what's that? Ranked. Okay, that's that. So I'm gonna pick this for the purpose of this video. And effectively become a high tier player without having to you know where is this of course we don't have the option for what's that about? Yeah, we don't have the option of domination, so then this is how we pick Warhost of the Apocalypse. Okay, what else? Oh, we got all these guys. Yeah, all the symbols are present, the flags. That's useful. Okay, so this is how you become a high tier player without having to learn all the tricks yourself and struggle to get in depth into the game. So no matter what faction you play, you need to take into account that the micro required in this game is much more impactful than StarCraft. And StarCraft requires tons of micro, but there you just throw units away. Essentially, you're gonna throw them, you're gonna remake them, and you're gonna throw them again. Now, here you don't do that. Here you need to maintain your units alive. If you forget a unit around and not move it on the proper timing, think of it this way. Most of the time, you are dead if you misuse the unit, don't use it on time. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can just sit down and have what you like to see. Okay. Most of the time, you are dead. You're either gonna lose that unit or you're gonna lose the engagement. So the micro here is much more impactful, much more how can I say it, important than it is on here, sorcerer, okay, than it is in StarCraft. Because okay, the opponent in StarCraft is gonna lose. StarCraft is a good example as it is one of the best RTS games. The opponent gonna lose some, you gonna lose some, you're gonna keep sending troops to die. Here this is not the case. If anything, here you want to keep your entire, all of your squads, even if they are like 10 men remaining in the squad, you want to keep them alive. So now let's get into more depth. Depending on the faction you play, you're gonna have different obviously different formation, but different needs of what to micro and how much. You're gonna have different users of the heroes, so you need to get good in the faction you're playing. You're gonna have different use of artillery, and you're gonna have what's that? That's like a character. Oops, hold on. This does. Oh, that's pretty useful. Yeah, that's a hero, obviously. Yeah, a hero. And it looks like a Bretonian, but there's more. Okay, these are the witch hunters, I guess. These are characters. So the general will be performing a different role than depending on the faction. Even your chaff, how can I call it, will be performing again a different role. And your high tier units still will be different. For example, let's say the Empire will have the steam tank to just they maybe have a build where they just need to keep the steam tank alive in order for the steam tank to uh, to take out the majority of the enemy infantry, because it functions like a chariot as well as a range unit. It's a tank. And what is a tank? It's a chariot with a range attack added on it. Maybe they will have just to sit on a fixed position and try to, with Hellstorm batteries, for example, I would overwhelm the enemy with firepower, or maybe they will be on the aggressive with maneuvering with Demigryph Knights. Demigryph Knights, they can kill pretty good. They have very highly armored, and they got pretty good mass. They cause fear. They can disengage easily if well supported. Also, they may have to use their chaff in order to engage on the enemy, and that has engaged the Demigryph Knights. So Demigryph Knights can escape into safety, passing through their own units. One unit effectively tanking the damage and allowing the Demigryph Knights to escape. They get to do all sorts of stuff. So in order for this to work, you need to get good into, learning the factions pros and cons. Now, having said that, the micro you require to pick on engagements as well as maneuver during the engagements is like I said, is much more important than StarCraft. You need a good trick to do it, to issue commands is just hold shift, drag a line with the left click, and then the unit, even if it gets attacked by other enemy units, it will focus on following the orders rather than just making one click away. So the unit will try to move there, but if engaged, it will stop and fight what is engaging it. You need to take this into account. You need to learn the game controls. This counts as a game control mechanic. You need to learn the game control mechanics by heart, obviously, and all the hotkeys, what they do. You don't want to be clicking. If there's a hotkey available, you need to know it and not click on the mouse for the certain ability. Now on spells, because spells are and abilities of the units themselves, like a general, for example. This general has abilities and spells on it. Well, this you can just see what you want to use, click it, and then cast it where you want it, all the abilities. But if you can learn these abilities by their hotkey much better. It saves you time than moving the mouse to click, because that is time consuming. Like I said, this game requires very important micro. Here has huge importance. It's not like StarCraft that's okay, I'm gonna throw some units there to die, the enemy gonna throw as well some units to die, and we are even, sort of. It's not this way. Now, okay, let me show you something. Let's pick two similar, considering similar factions. Bretonia, as you see. Yeah, cool. This is just okay. That's great. I can pick any flag I want. That's super cool. That's so cool. They fixed it. So let's see these two similarly considering factions. We have Bretonia and the Empire. Okay, they are. The majority of people think these factions are similar. That couldn't be further from the truth. They got huge differences. It's like playing. It's day and night. So know this: if these two similarly, people consider them to be similar, they are not. They try to play them as if they are similar. That's why they fail. So if these two factions that are considered to be similar are day and night, you understand what the differences are between total different factions. For example, let's add the CPU. Okay, let's add the CPU. We won't add corn at the moment because I want something more. Let's say Lizardman. Lizardmen with the Empire and Bretonia. How the differences these guys have. Norska. Let's add another factions. Ogre Kingdoms. All these factions are, if the Empire and Bretonia are day and night, think what happens between Empire, for example, and Ogre Kingdoms, or Bretonia and Lizardmen. All these comparisons. It's totally. It's like being a different planet or something like that. So let me show you a typical army of the Empire and an army of Bretonia that I am using. An army of the Empire that I am using. You will realize the difference. Many people try to new box back in the day where Lou Leoncoeur had this blessing of the lady that gave plus leadership. They just used the peasants box with archers. So they did that. Ladies champion, it was Hilbers, no, it was Beloved Son, yeah, that was it. Beloved Son of Bretonia, I think it was that. Affect allies in range, yeah, hit points, less than 50% base. So you get to fight with this, and as soon as your hit points used to drop, you effectively you make immune to psychology, increased base weapon damage, charge bonus, and melee attack. That was very useful, and stand combined with stand your ground. And you usually used to get Bequi. Enabled if less hit point less than 50%. Usually you didn't bring the latest champion to replenish hit point, but you would bring a healing where is a damsel with lore of life to cure him whenever you want, because you wanted the hit points to drop but not die. So you usually used to go like this. and you would cure him whenever you needed. That is, you wanted this. You would activate it whenever needed, usually when the hit points dropped. Stand your ground was definitely used. Foe Seeker not that much, so you could just skip it. And the Sword of Kurun, reducing the enemy armor and melee defense, would make your troops hit them harder. There would be more hits would land. So usually that was a lord how you good to get Luen back then. I didn't do this. I did something completely different. But that was usually the pick, how you would go. Now, spell resistance. This is for effects allied range, so that's useful to cast a spell when you usually get casted on a spell and the enemy was casting a spell, so you could boost your resistance. That is useful. And this stacks with this 40%, so you get it up to 50. You would take it. And Life Bloom, you would get this. Now, what spell you would use usually? Scrolls, yeah, that was useful, and Spellstone. What does this do? Power recharge, it gave power recharge. Maybe you could skip them, but they were useful to take. You would usually place her on a. This is for the speed. What's the difference? Melee attack, melee defense. Alright. Usually you would put her on a barbed horse because you wanted her to move around the map. And what you would do, you would pick the Earthblood, Regrowth, and depends now what you want to do. Dwellers below, you don't pick them all, for example. That's what I was the point. Shield of Thor used to be different. In any case, you would usually pick this healing spell so you save money, and then you would just go to. Usually, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just telling you now. They would, because they were thinking that Bretonian Empire were similar, so they would go with like some of these, and pikemen, the relic. And I still have money to spend, and they will just go for, depending what archers they want to use, just adding some archers depending what they wanted to use. Like I said, they would also pick like where are these, maybe a questing, no questing, they wouldn't pick questing knights, they would pick some foot squires, and they would also pick some usually they would pick up Royal Pegasus Knights, and that was it. That was the army, or regular, or Grail, or Knights of the Realm. Usually that was the army, and one of these. That was the army they usually brought. Now, because they were trying to play this as if it was the Empire. I want versus tons of new box armies. Okay, let's pick another faction and let's select Bertonia. Alright. So now let me show you the army I was using. Before the nerf, I usually would pick Fae on Silveron. I would pick certain abilities, Life Bloom, Arcane Conduit, Mist of the Lady. That depends. Yeah, I would definitely bring her items. Earthblood, Shield of Thor, Regrowth, less to stone, very useful, and dwellers below. Depends what you wanna use. Let's pick this now. And what's that? It's direct damage. Yeah, I would pick this. Maybe even bring the entire spell book of her and all the abilities. Usually, depending though, maybe you could just you do want this, so we could just skip this. You could skip. You could want this weapon of the wood. Yeah, you can also skip this, but this depends. Maybe you wanna bring it. It's a legendary lore, so it's gonna have some cost. So let me show you what army I wish to bring. Well, depending, make you pick what you want to use. Blessed field trebuchet, also regular field trebuchets. I would bring like 4 of these. Each one would be guarded by one of these. This good guard, and I would have a hero, not the Green Knight or God Rattle Felix. A paladin for sure. I guess I would put him on a Pegasus. Guardian, don't need it. Foe Seeker, don't need it. Billy also don't need it. This I don't need, but just this so he can hit hard from the air. And then what I would bring. One of these Royal Hippogriff Knights, because they got armor piercing damage and I can boost them with spells. And look, this is a goon squad. Okay, these two, the Paladin and the Royal Hippogriff Knight. Paladin is on Royal Pegasus. Now, what else would I bring? Maybe Lupon. Sorry about that. I used to be a little bit. Just have some go. So what I would bring? Not the fancy units like Grail Guardians or Royal Pegasus Knights or Grail Knights. I would maybe I would bring a questing knight unit. Maybe a Knights of the Realm unit, and now I can bring one of these, and that was the army. Hold on. Yeah, that was the army. I would just fire with the trebuchets, reduce the enemy into dealing tons of damage to the enemies, and then I would just spike damage with all these goon squads. I have, including the Fae, which is a powerful spellcaster. Okay, now I remember what I did. Now we take the area of effect damaging spells, all of them, because I have money to spare. And on this guy, I could also give him 60 seconds. This would be useful, but the Guardian is useful for the Fae, and Foe Seeker. No, I don't need that much the Foe Seeker. Okay, this I would have very strong. I would put strength to the lords. Now all this cavalry and the Pegasus, the flank paladin, and the Fae on the horse is a goon squad effectively. If the map didn't have much forest, I would just place these trebuchets spread all over the map. One on I used to do this against Chaos mostly when I was fighting someone who would pick Chaos. Let's put a Lord and let me show you. Okay, where is the map setup? This used to be, okay, this was one of the oldest maps in the game. Blue River, it's with the mountain in the center. This is also one of the oldest maps in the game. It's got too many forests, but people wouldn't use them too much. They wouldn't take cover in the forest. They didn't realize what they wanted to do. Let's see this map. This is also very common, but look at this. Even on this map it works. Let's keep searching. Here it reads. This map, yeah, this is a mountain in the center. It works on every Languil. Who doesn't remember this map? Yeah, this map. This is a pretty good example. A map that has forest, but not like that you can't. That it's full of forest. So let me show you how this worked. Usually back in the day it used to be someone was attacker and someone was the defender. So now obviously I'm gonna be playing this battle. I would just I just launched it to show you how this was going on. Because people don't understand how this worked. In Gork versus enemy cavalry, I usually did this against Chaos. No matter what they bring, what they would bring, House Knights, House Infantry, House Warriors, Dogs, they usually didn't bring many Marauders, but it works against Marauders also because the Knights Errant and the Knights of the Realm would completely kill the Marauder Cavalry and Infantry. Oh, that's very... I just found something. If you press N, where you have the mouse, it zooms into this spot. Look, wherever I target the mouse pressing N, instantly zooms in. That's great, that's great. You need to get to learn the controls, guys. And this allows you to micro correctly. You don't just zoom in and out. This is different than the mouse thing. That's, oh my god, that's a great feature. Okay, let me show you the formation a bit so you get to understand what I'm talking about. Of course, I didn't have them on auto fire. Look at the range they got, so I can place them like this and have them cover each other. Just like that. So what would happen is, as they were, and I can also cover my troops.
Spearmen at arms! We are ready!
In the forest, I don't see what is here about, so I would put these guys over here.
Ready!
Maybe these guys over here so they don't see the guard. And they think it's easy target, so they attack and get caught. Why I can't hide? Okay, it's something with the forest. Anyway, usually I would put them like this.
Infantry!
Each one would be close to...
Spearmen at arms!
One of these.
What orders?
They would be close
Fighters! Spearmen at arms! We serve our liege!
Okay, these guys, well, I can't hide these guys, so I will just... And the goon squad now would be actually two goon squads. It would be The Knights Errant. One.
Knights of the Realm! Show us the foe!
One group.
Knights of the Realm!
Now the formation is very important. I would make them like this, so even more open. Let me check it out.
Knights Errant!
Even in more, so we get to flank if something was coming. Like move with this line, this column, while the opponent was coming, for example, this way, look, and then I would attack with both of these squads and instantly kill it. These would be on their own, so group 2.
Sons of Britannia!
Of course, she will be on her own, and the Paladin, as well as the Royal Hippogriff Knights, which are all armor piercing.
Paladin of Britannia! What do you bid?
They are within his range, yeah, they are.
Hero of Britannia!
This would be another team, and all these goon squads would move around the map. Let me show you a bit.
Sorceress!
Let me show you. Now the catapults would pick a target and all of them hit one, then switch targets and so on. Usually the armored units were the priority, so these guys would just move around the map.
Swiftly!
What's going on?
Ready for battle!
And the fake would move alone, of course. Picking up engagements, let's see.
War machines! Run them through!
Now, of course, I'm not facing an enemy army.
Honor her!
Take the ground! At speed! Sons of Bretonia!
Now all these would just kill the hit points of this unit.
Spearmen at arms!
For the lady!
Over here.
We are ready! We serve! Understood! Immediately!
Quickly!
The goon squad here. We would just engage targets here and there. Usually I used to hit them with the catapults, then finish them off with this, go up in the air, while these catapults have engaged a different target, hit the weaken, then attack with these guys which are the armor piercing. This would govern against Chaos Knights and who are armored.
At once!
Post haste!
Post haste!
So first, after hitting these Chaos Knights hard, then the infantry.
We serve the king! Forward! Twisting knights! Spearmen at arms!
Of course, they're disengaging. Yeah, you have to use your spells properly. Now the damage reflection will just eat this unit.
For our lands!
There is also this. Oops, no.
By the lady! Field trebuchet!
Yeah, actually this spell will make these guys
Withdraw!
completely weaken these
For the lady! Post haste! We obey! Yes!
In her service!
Wreck them! Yes! Hail trebuchet! Halt!
Yeah, this guy's the Knight Serrans.
Paladin of
Now this
Britannia!
guy will charge.
We are ready! Battle
And that's how one of the most elite units died. This was happening in the battle. Of course, like I said, it requires tons of microing in order to kill all the enemy squads. The Chaos Knights usually, like I said, I would just hit with the trebuchets first because Chaos Knights are slow. Then finish them off with the Paladin and Royal Hippogriff Knights. That's where they were on about to be routed. Usually 2 or 3 shots would kill them hard, then attack, and then swats. Meanwhile, I was switching the targets of the field trebuchets to other cavalry. They didn't bring more. Usually they didn't bring.
Moving a base!
At once!
Full tilt! Immediately!
Usually they wouldn't bring only Chaos Knights to engage. They would bring infantry too. All these. What's that?
Ever ready!
Okay. And the same, the infantry moves much slower, of course. So after the cavalry was done. Okay. After the cavalry was killed, I would focus on, and I have the tools to deal with. I have the tools to deal with Marauder cavalry, light cavalry, Marauder infantry, which is an armored infantry. One Knight Terran unit, with properly used, would just kill any number of Marauders that you would normally face in a land battle. One unit of, like I shown you, one unit of where is the arm setup? Yeah, one unit of Knight Serrans. The Knights of the Realm would kill the Marauder Cavalry, which is large, and these guys got bonus versus large, so they kill them really fast. The Questing Knights would kill the enemy Chaos Knights as well as armored infantry. Same with the Royal Hippogriff Knights, and the Fae would as well, they would cast the spells. And now with the new type of spells that like damage reflection, with one of these spearmen, they could just you can cast it on any given unit. Usually you don't want to cast it on damage reflection spell on armored units. You want to cast them on lightly armored units. So these guys, if they got hit, let's say some Chaos Warrior unit managed to get close, with the damage reflection, the Chaos Warrior unit would be just dead, because they would take the damage they would deal. And as they will come with the catapults, they would be completely weakened. So, and that's how I used to win against Chaos back in the day. Completely different than the favored son of Bretonia that everybody was using. So players learn to counter it. So let me show you now an Empire army. Hellblaster volley guns. Just one. Hellstorm battery. Maybe it's got very huge range. Luminar of Fish. Why not? Yeah, it can take out enemy generals. And maybe Hammer of the Great Cannon. Okay, now I would usually protect these artillery pieces with like 4 of these. That's just my army. I need high melee defense to put it correct. Now what I would bring is Boris in let's see, Imperial Griffon because it's cheaper than Karl Franz. Now you get to pick what you wanna use. For example, this definitely useful. It uses the enemy melee attack. This not necessarily. Now minus melee defense melee attack. These two stack well, yo. And hold the line. It's definitely pretty useful if you wanna bring it. Depends. So what we got now? We got space for some more. Do not underestimate these armor piercing units. These guys got very high melee defense. That's what I care about. We can also bring some great swords. Just one unit of great swords is enough. And how we close the gap? We can bring 2 of these. Well, at this point I can. Oops, hold on, I wanted to pick this, which synergizes with the minus melee attack from the Lord. So, minus 13 melee attack, as well as the melee defense. Now, which means, and what severance I got. It's just a -2. How long it is? Let me see how much I get. +1. Yeah, you get a plus. Hold on. +3, +4, +5. Okay, this. Okay, so it just gets a +1. So around there, this would be like okay. Now this is an army I would usually use, and this army can deal a lot of damage. The reason is it's got huge range with the artillery pieces. This, the Hellstorm battery, got very huge range. This doesn't have that much range, but it deals tons of damage. You have to protect it, and this kills characters if it manages to hit. It also got an aura protection and some debuffs for the enemy. So, and I'm protected obviously from enemy armor with the halberdiers. And don't forget the typical cannon, which also deals a lot of damage. So, and the Boris would just score kills. Now maybe I could just remove one of these and pick this. Well, I'm at -50. I guess I've got to remove something. Alright, let's bring something else. Let's bring something else. Maybe you don't want that much artillery, but that's just how I do it. 750, what can we bring? Okay, this costs just 100 more. What What can we bring? I'm just thinking now. Maybe with some handgunners against Chaos, for example. Just one unit, you don't need them to be much. Well, at this point, why not just bring this for extra mobility? Though, like I said, you get to engage the enemy and then run through your own units to get up in the air again. It's not... so I can upgrade this unit. It gets managed like this. This could also work. You need to put some severance usually. Now let me show you let's select race, let's pick Warriors of Chaos. You're gonna see, and also you need to realize what you're going up against. I used to do this build here against Chaos or something like that. If I was fighting, for example, Dark Elves, I would go a totally different build. Okay, you need to see what you're fighting against and build your army. I don't want it to generate armies on its own, so let me select race. Okay, let's pick now. What should we pick? Okay, let's pick these guys. Warriors of the... Let's pick this. So what I would bring against let's say the Empire. I'll show you one of the many builds I used to use against a single faction, guys. And back in the day we didn't have the armor of Morcar. Let me just remind you this. No, neither we had this Paragon of Ruin or Fight or Die. Oh, hold on. I just realized this is for multiplayer. So on multiplayer, we got this, the Fight or Die, which we don't have a single player. We have Stand Your Ground. That's a good change for multiplayer. It fits the Warriors of Chaos and theme. But they should have put it on the single player also. On multiplayer it's great, but it's not on multiplayer. And I was wondering, when did I see this? Yeah, so it's on multiplayer. I didn't realize this wouldn't be the case in single player. In single player he just has Stand Your Ground. I guess it depends on what tree you are upgrading. Maybe you have also the Fight or Die, but it's on a different tree or something. It just boosts leadership. Okay, you do want to get this to boost your melee attack. So what spells? Well, back in the day I would just pick the Burning Head. I didn't have all this mixture. Now I get to pick okay, well, no matter how more spells I use, they become cheaper. Alright. Now Searing Doom is also useful, as well as Transmutation of Lead, but maybe not. Okay, let's see this Dorgar. Now this gives a lot. Causes terror and immune to psychology. Yeah, you do want this, as you don't have any other terror sources, and melee defense and charge reflection, you do want this also. Okay, this is the how I would use the general, and well, if you get this, you don't want Archaeon is immune to psychology, isn't he? Anyway, maybe weakness to fire, it increases the fire damage, so yes. Maybe I could also go for this. That's it. Okay, now against the Empire, I'll just show you an army. you will get impressed by this army that I had created, and I managed to win against a highly skilled player. Some of where are the swords of chaos? Yeah, there they are. I brought two of these so they hold the ground, and now of course let me tell you guys, I would just now back in the day we didn't have the hell scourges and so on, so this army I managed to kill one of the best players. Well, let me see how this thing scale. Yes, 7. Okay, I would upgrade them until they get this from 58 to 60. Same with these guys. 60 melee defense, you get the higher you can. Alright, now this the stuff, okay, well, yeah, this scouts a lot the plus to my with the upgrades. And now what do we get? Because I don't want these guys to rout. Okay, so you get the more. Like this. Okay, I need 15 more. Where do I get the 15 more? Okay, let's put this here for plus leadership. Now, this guys, this army, I managed to win. Oh, I forgot. I didn't bring 2 chariots. I brought only 1 because you don't need more chariots. Okay, this gives them a +2 on leadership. They wouldn't take much damage. I would macro them, just engage and then disengage, but so they wouldn't take much damage. But you do want to have the best use you can out of this. Okay, if I remove one of these. Anyway, at this moment I don't remember, maybe, but it was like this army. Now you tell me, okay, what does this army do that has good against the Empire? Well, the Chaos Knights. Oh, now I remember. I didn't bring any Chaos Warriors, or I brought a single unit. Anyway, now the Chaos Knights, they can with shields. Look how high melee defense they got. They can charge the enemy line, and with that high defense, it's like having house warriors effectively, who move faster. And with Archeon and the Swords of Chaos, this pay off a lot. you need to take the spells into consideration. Also, what else did I have? Now I remember. I had these guys. They are shielded. And I had them upgraded. Let me check how much. Like this. I think I had them like this. And what remained of this, I put it the experience here on the chariot. Yeah, because you get flash a lot. Yeah, that was the army. Yeah, that was the army, I remember. Oops. Hold on, what are you talking about? I brought this. Yeah, the Slayer of Kings. For the extra damage. This, I didn't need it. Okay, let me reduce a little bit the... Where is the car? So he can cause terror, and now this guy... That's that. Okay, this is the more it gets. Yeah, this is the army I brought to win. You need to be very careful to upgrade the units if you want to go with... depends on the faction. Some factions are, you saw, my empire didn't use many upgrades. Bretonia didn't use any upgrades. Here I used a lot of upgrades. It all depends on the faction, guys. Because as I told you guys, if the Bretonia and the Empire are day and night, then think what are the Skaven with the war compared to Warriors of Chaos and say Lizardmen and Select Race. What else? Where is it? High Elves. Considering we got how many elven factions we got? High Elves, we got Wood Elves, and we got Dark Elves. So we got 3 elves factions, and they are totally different. The High Elves with the Wood Elves and the Dark Elves. So all these 3 factions, which are all elves, they are totally different. So you understand if these factions are different completely, day and night, and that they are all elves, as well as the Empire and the Bretonia, that are usually the common factions, they are totally different. Day and night differences in their playstyle. If you wanna make them work, people were having difficulties in making these factions work. Well, that was because they weren't playing them properly. For example, where is the Kislev? There it is. Kislev, which is also a faction like with similar historical background, let's say, I don't know, to the Empire, which they are totally different. Same stand for where is Cathay. There it is. All these factions that are considered to be somehow similar, they are not. They are day and night. So you understand the differences then between. You also get 3 elf factions and the Tomb Kings and the Vampire Coast, and which are all undead. The Vampire Counts, where they are, there they are. The Vampire Counts, the Tomb Kings, and the Vampire Coast. They are, you all know it, they are day and night. Also, let me go on this parameter. Apart from Warriors of Chaos, we got Korn, there is Slanesh, what else? Zints and Nurgle. These are all Chaos factions, okay? We're talking about Chaos. These are the Chaos factions, and we also got Warriors of Chaos. Now, apart from the Warriors of Chaos, which are all these together, apart from this, these Chaos factions, which are the Chaos God factions, the Mono God factions, between each other they are totally different. They are, like I said, they're like a different planet. So you understand if the one faction, which this is a good example, like Chaos, because all these form the Chaos undivided faction. All these factions, they are not sub-factions, they are separate factions, and they're like, how are the StarCraft factions, Terran, Protoss, and Zerg different? They are completely different. We know you play something else when you play one of these. You don't feel you play the same faction with Riskin. Well, here the differences are much more. So if these factions, which are also considered to be a single faction, are totally unique, well, you understand how much variety this game has, and you need to learn them well all in order to learn how to handle your armies. But I tell you this, guys, macroing here is very important, has huge importance. It's not like throwing units away. And let's take a good example of something that needs a lot of micro. Fins of the Slanesh, I'm not getting into Keeper of Secrets, because the Keeper of Secrets, look at his armor, 5. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense to be 5, because look at his speed, how fast he moves. Now, there was also changes with the Hell Scourges. These guys, chosen with Hell Scourges, they used to have no armor piercing damage. Now they got armor piercing damage. I don't know about these guys, if they had any armor piercing. I think they didn't have. Or the Hell Scourges of Marauders. In any case, it was their unit design. They are supposed, one squad of these got tons of hit points, got very good speed. Look at the speed of these guys. 33 for heavily armored infantry. And look at the leadership and look at the hit points. And the armor. These guys were supposed to swap targets, and like I said it in another video, they would tank and protect your light armor units like the Fins of Slanesh or Keeper of Secrets. They would pass through them. I mean, if you want these guys, the Fins, Keeper of Secrets, or where's the chariot? Okay, what's it got a name? It's got a name. House Chariots of, not this chariot, sorry. Where are they? There used to be a chariot unit, where it is. Ah, there it is, Seeker Chariots. Look at the speed they got, 100. They would just disengage and engage. The The chosen of Slanesh Hell Scourges didn't need any armor piercing. They got demons. The idea was you have, for example, let's not get into high detail of Keeper of Secret and Finch, though you would use them, would have a chosen Slanesh engaging tons of whatever it was it is to engage. It's not a noir versus one, guys. Players were complaining that they can't do well against armor infantry. Yeah, it's not a noir versus one. You would have these guys engage, let's say, a greatsword unit, which is armored. Look at the melee defense, it's 70. So they are, and you would also bring behind them a demonette of Slanesh with the devastating flanker to attack the great swords. So the idea was these guys would, and these guys would also kill all the swordsmen, spearmen, flagellants, all lightly armored infantry, elite or chaff. One of these units would just kill it all of the enemy army. That's how these factions play. It's like you have Zerg, they wanna build hatcheries. You have Terran, you wanna build infrastructures, barracks and buildings. You got Protoss, you're gonna build pylons where you wanna build your buildings. Now, that was the idea of this unit. They have made them properly. They are not to faction alone, and these guys would protect the demonettes from swordsmen, for example, who can hurt them really well, and spearmen and flagellants. These guys would just kill them. It would be a mix-up, but things won't blend in randomly. They would be a mix-up, an organized mix-up. So that was the idea. They didn't need armor piercing damage in their weapon strength. These Hell Scourges, any Hell Scourge unit I think didn't have any armor piercing. And for that reason, if I recall correctly, these guys didn't have armor piercing either. Yeah, these guys in the past didn't have any armor piercing. Now they gave them 4. Okay, that's nothing, not much, but these guys, they got pretty fast attack speed also, so they kill really fast their preferable targets. Now the feats of Slanesh, they are monstrous infantry. They would engage the great swords, ideally, these guys, and just completely, what's that? Yeah, they also reduce melee attack and melee defense. They got physical resistance, and they got the devastating flanker. So they would just these guys don't have the devastating. Oh, they have the flanker. So that's how this faction of Slanesh would work. Now, many were complaining that okay, we're not gonna bring the Chosens of Slanesh for that reason. Well, that's why you lose most of the battles. Most players would lose most of the battles they would play as Chaos because they didn't know how it functions, how they work. Because they wouldn't bring that unit, they would prefer to bring instead of this, they would prefer to bring where are the Chaos Warriors? Let's pick this. They would prefer to bring 2 of these instead of bringing because they got some armor perfect damage, yeah, 10. Instead of bringing just 1 of these. Of course, these Chaos Warriors would just completely die because they don't look at their stats. Look at this, and let's look at these stats. Minus 26 melee defense, minus 20 armor, minus leadership, minus 1,110 hit points. All these. And not even that, they would bring regular Chaos Warriors. which don't have even the mark of Slanesh or Strider. Now, lacking these traits would just make the units weaker and not able to make it through the battle. Whereas this expensive unit, they would say that these are too expensive. Well, they are, but this unit is if you bring one of these and use them properly, they could make it till the end of the battle and give you the victory. So you would be able to make a victory. So this armor piercing damage on them, no, it was not needed. That was that's not how this faction works. Let's take for example corn. On corn, look what you get. On corn you get all of them. These guys got armor piercing, exalted blood letters, having armor piercing. These guys anti-infantry and armor piercing. Look at this weapon strength. Regular blood letters, they got anti-infantry and armor piercing. Yeah, 69 weapon strength. Look at this armor piercing damage. And these are regular chosens of corn with shields. Look at the armor piercing variant. So, because this is a different faction, it's supposed to be. It's meant to be different. It's made to be different, and their weaponry, the unit design is different. It's functioning as it's supposed to be. They don't have, for example, devastating flanker on the blood letters. And these guys got anti-infantry, which means they don't hit cavalry well, whereas these Slanesh demons, they move very fast and they hit cavalry. They got very high melee attack and they hit cavalry also very good. Korn, in order to hit cavalry, he needs halberds. Not these guys who are anti-infantry, not these guys which are the shields, not the blood letters. He needs the halberds to hit cavalry with the plus 19 and plus 30, it gets pretty good against cavalry. So that's the thing with it. Totally different faction. These guys, or something to mention, doesn't have great weapons. I mean, they got a great weapon on the Bloodthirster. Doesn't have infantry with great weapon. This guy, the Bloodthirster, is carrying a great weapon, like a two-handed axe, a huge axe, which is like a great weapon, but that's for the Bloodthirster. So you see the differences here. Nurgle, for example. Oops, let's remove some. Nurgle has House Warriors of Nurgle with great weapons. He has regular House Warriors, but he doesn't have halberds. It makes sense because, like I said, different faction. And this guy, for example, got the heroic killing blow. Whereas here, where is the corn? The corn one has deadly onslaught. He doesn't have the heroic killing blow. This guy, where is it? He gets mounts, different items to upgrade. Yeah, different items and deadly onslaught. And the statics of these are armor piercing. He's dual wielding actually, this guy. This guy is using a great weapon. So you see he's just anti-infantry, he's not armor piercing. Different factions guys, Slanesh Scale Scores is gaining armor piercing. I disagree on that because they were not. That's not the purpose of this unit, as well as they still deal damage against armor themselves. Let's have a look at this. This 41, they deal damage, just that they don't have any armor piercing, which means it's just the armor either gonna reduce the damage totally, or if a hit lands, they're gonna take either 1 damage. If they land a hit, they're gonna deal 1 damage, or 41 damage if they get a good chance, even against an armored foe with 100 armor around there. But it was harder for them to deal damage against armor. But like I said, Slanesh got other sources of armor piercing damage. Let's see this Exalt Demonets, for example. Look at these stats. Minus melee attack. So they reduce the melee attack of the enemy. So these guys who have House Warriors of Slanesh, no, yeah, even these, which are the House Warriors 54 melee defense, and these with 70, because take this reduction into account of the enemy melee attack, which means even harder to hit them. So again, devastated flanker instability. This is on what the enemy unit they attack. Devastating flanker, they can hide, they move fast. You don't need to run them behind the House Warriors. You get to run actually the Demonets on their own around the map, and you have to maneuver them well. You engage with the House Warriors, and then the Demonets come. So it was just a different faction, and the game design, the unit design was great that they didn't give them any armor piercing, because again, you're not gonna be send them to kill the enemy armor. You're gonna have them to support the units killing the enemy armor. It's a very House Warriors, any house faction is very highly synergetic with within its roster. I mean, you can say that on every faction, for example. What are you talking about? You can tell me, aren't the Wood Elves highly synergizing with the roster themselves? They do, and they also have a lot of unit abilities that I wasn't aware they had. I mean, that much. This guy's got an ability. Look at this. These units got ability while on the wall, and Woodsman. This also got ability Shadow's Coil. There are tons of abilities, Stark, Firearm Moving, Hockey's Precision. They got a lot of abilities. This is just Armor Piercing Ball versus Large. Look at all these abilities. So look what it does. I think it's poison also. I think this breath. So they got tons of abilities, and this all rosters synergize, but they're all highly synergized, but depending on the faction you pick to play, the synergies are different. Greenskis, for example. They synergize well with the squigs and the infantry, but again, the synergies are different. And the fanatics goblin which throw these whatever these units throw away. They throw some squigs to attack. It's different. You need to cover a lot of the goblins. You need to cover the goblins. You need to cover the goblins with. Now this is the AI army. Okay, you're not using this army. You need to cover all these Night Goblin archers and fanatics. And the regular Goblin fanatics, where are they? Yeah, and these guys, the nasty skulkers, all these units, you need to cover them with regular orc boys, or big guns, or savage orcs. Regular savage orcs, because they got physical resistance. You need to cover your black orcs to deal damage. The boar boys also need to cover the goblin wolf fighters. So the synergies are different in unit. Now, and take this also into account. Bretonian Empire, like I said, they are totally different factions, day and night. It's like playing Empire. Where is it? Completely different factions. Now let's check this. In Warriors of Chaos, someone will tell you, okay, this is mostly melee synergies. Well, take a look at Zins. Zins got all these ranged units. Okay, let's remove this army. Come on. Oh, that's really the cursed. Okay. So look at Zins. Zins got these guys, the blue horrors. They are ranged infantry. But they can do pretty good in melee also. But they are ranged. They got the pink horrors, who are mostly ranged. They are not that as good as the blue horrors in melee. Exact pink horrors. Okay. So, someone would argue they got Exalted Lord of Chains or Village the Cursed, completely functioning completely different despite being on the same rosters. Kairos, Fatweaver, Sarthorel, all these guys. Herald of Zins, the lords, the heroes, Cultists of Zins, Ascetic Horror, and House Sorcerer of Zins. Missile monsters, Flamers. These guys, Screamers, are a melee unit. Furies, Spawn of Zins. Lord of Chains, which is like having a Lord of Chains general in your army, and you get to bring like a village, the Kersling. As well, a Lord of Chains. So, while you would say, okay, in Chaos mostly the synergies are melee, well, look at Zin's roster, it's pure range, Flamers, Horrors, blue and big horrors, what they are. We also got that Missile Cavalry here, which are the... Yeah, look at this. Look at this damage. Warflame. Yeah, that's armor piercing. An armor piercing chariot. Okay, this is the burning chariot of Zins. Very useful if you use it properly. Again, Warfire Marauders. And all this mixed in a Chaos Undivided faction, which, for example, Chaos Warriors, if we get to pick a Chaos Warrior. Okay, we got the Chaos Warriors, so where is the Missile Cavalry? Okay, we don't have the... We got the Flamers of Zins. Oh, that's the extended roster. Alright. So I don't think you have this available on multiplayer. You don't have this available on multiplayer, obviously, because this is the extended roster, I think. The opponent has to allow it, and to be an agreement between the players that you get to let them use their extended roster. Okay, so you don't have all these guys, but you have all a lot of the rest. Look at this, the Doom Knights of Zins are present, the Flamers aren't, but the Doom Knights aren't. Skullcrushers are present in Warriors of Chaos, but with a different price, I think. This guy's 150. How much cost this Zins roster? Oh, they cost the same. I would just switch the cost depending on the faction you play with. Instead, they just switch the abilities. You can play Warriors of Chaos as Village the Curseling, but if you play him as Zins, you get different abilities. This Village the Curseling isn't the same as if you go Warriors of Chaos and you use Village the Curseling. It's not the same. It's got some differences in his abilities, so it makes sense. So you see how totally huge depth are the synergies within each faction. You need to learn it good, and as I said, you need to macro them. Macroing is very important. So guys, thanks for watching. This is some piece of advice. I hope they get back to the unit design and realized how correct they were where they had the Slanesh, the Hell Scourges, all the Hell Scourges units. I think these guys used to do some armor piercing damage. Now that I think of it, there used to. I remember it was some armor piercing damage on these units. I think it was, but maybe it was. I don't remember correctly. But I remember for sure that the Chosen and the House Warriors didn't have any. Possibly there were, but maybe they were, so I don't remember exactly what was the case. Even these Devoted Marauders, Slanesh Hell Scourges, I don't remember if they had any armor piercing, or if they had, it was too little. So what I would do, I would just reduce it to 0, the armor piercing damage of the Hell Scourges, because they're not dealing armor piercing damage. Instead, they got very high melee defense, as you see, for a Marauder. This guy's got 38 melee defense, and this guy's got 28 melee defense. That's the difference, huge difference. The guys also got anti-infantry. The Spare Marauder also got 28 melee defense. But the Hell Scourges, look at how much higher melee defense they got. These guys are to tank damage, in a sense that they are gonna get hit because of the high melee defense. As I was saying, and the armor piercing damage will be dealt by Demonets and other armor piercing sources of Slanesh. So Hell Scourges did not need armor piercing damage. Their initial game design was excellent into how to design units for each faction specifically. So they get the faction synergies will be present, because now, well, you could argue that someone would say that, okay, since these guys now got armor piercing, it's okay, I maybe not be killing a unit of dwarf warriors that fast, but they got armor piercing, so they get to kill it eventually, and that is what ruins unit synergies within its roster, because now you don't need to pick a demonet to engage the dwarf warriors, you need to have, you can just get away by making the worst choice between the good choice and the bad choice. You get to pick the bad choice and get away with it instead of getting punished for your wrong choice. So there is that, learn the unit synergies within its roster, and also its lord synergizes with its units differently, which means you need to get how people say it, get good. So you need to take them into account. Look, Keeper of Secrets, defense 5, look at his speed, 80. He's got some abilities, yeah, that's... and his abilities don't cost energy, they are abilities, not spells. And they just... you got one use of it, but that's actually pretty good, it's a free ability. If they cost energy, okay, you could cast them twice, but then you wouldn't have energy for... you wouldn't have Winds of Magic for the rest spells, so you get to pick a Keeper of Secrets and then a Azazel, for example. Let's not pick a Herald or House Lord. Azazel. Let me check him. Look at all the spells he's got, all his abilities. Yeah. You get to pick this and be able to cast a lot of spells, utilize your abilities. So this is the video for the tips that I can give you. I am one of the top 100 in Total War Warhammer ladder. I used to be, I don't play that much, but you know, if you get there, getting there is what really counts. And I've won against the top 10, so if I do that, it means I know what I'm talking about. You can take my word for it. Now, of course, it depends on your playstyle, guys, how you want to play. So there is that. So thanks for watching, guys. This is the piece of advice I can give you. Enjoy the game. And see ya in the next cast. I hope I didn't tire you much, because these advice about how to play the game can sometimes be really tiring. Someone could argue that these are very hard tricks to pull, and they are. So why you're telling us to play like this will we're never gonna, we know we aren't high top tier players, so why you are telling us these things? Well, if you know them, and it's gonna be easier for you to get high tier than getting on your own. Getting on your own is much harder. Maybe it will take, maybe you never get to the high tier. So I'm telling you this as a piece of advice on how to enjoy the game more. Okay guys, bye all, and see you in the next stream.